It's time to get nerdy, y'all.
A little bit of gaming history for you.
Something relevant in gaming and discuss our opinions on it.
Should we kick it out of here, or should we kick-start it?
This is the part where you, the listeners, try to stump the hosts.
I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses of all ages, welcome to the show. It is Monday, August the 4th, and it is time to get nerdy. Welcome to episode 351 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the multiverse. I am one of your hosts, Maction, and I am joined today by a slightly new voice. And for the next hour, we're going to take you through news, gaming, trivia, lawsuits, and everything else as it relates to our favorite art form, video games. So Mr. Nice Guy can't join us. We are instead joined by Chase. Chase, for anybody who hasn't heard of you, please say howdy. Tell us a little bit about yourself or where we might know you from.
Yeah, hi. My name is Chase. I am the creative director for Ghostlight Media. I am also the DM for Another Path. We're a tabletop anthology podcast, technically. It's mostly been D&D, but, you know, sometimes I'll slip a little something else in there.
For sure.
And I'm also a player on Imprinted Echoes, and I portray the character Nehemiah.
Lovely, lovely. We are thrilled to have you today, and, we'll just hop in with a little bit of what's going on. And I know that you moved mountains to be here because you are coming right off of a visit to Gen Con. Dude, what was that like?
Incredible. I have had the distinct pleasure. This is my, if I'm remembering right, my fourth Gen Con going. My first one I went back in 2019 with a couple of folks from Ghostlight. And then the past couple of years, I have had the distinct pleasure of running games for Nerdburger Games. They're an indie dev whose next year will actually be the 10-year anniversary for the company.
Nice.
So I go out and I run a bunch of games for that crew, depending on whatever it is they're looking to be doing a little bit more of. And then the rest of the time, I get to myself to wander around the convention center. It is hard to talk about this without just going into the pure sensory overload that being in a space like this is. You know, before we went live, Mac, you were talking about your time going to CES back in the day, and I imagine it is much the same. It is the most amount of people I will be around until roughly the beginning of August next year. It is so many people, so much stuff going on, so many cool things going on, and it is impossible. Every year, there is some major thing that happens somewhere else, and it's like, oh yeah, this was at Gen Con, and I'm watching the TikTok or the Reel or whatnot. It's like, where even was... I don't know where the room this took place is. And that is some foreshadowing for my news. But no, it was a phenomenal time. I got to see the Oops All Himbos game this year, which is great. The Faster Purple Worm put on by Beetle and Grimm. Absolutely wonderful experience. If you're at all interested in the tabletop space, I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Fantastic. I am incredibly jealous, but it was hard for me. I'm over on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I've already got my big cons. I went with Mr. Nice Guy. We went to Midwest Gaming Classic.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, we went together, had a great time. I got to visit him, hang out, in person. And my spouse is presenting at Worldcon, which is in Seattle in a couple of weeks, and that's a fantasy and sci-fi writing thing.
Ooh.
So I get to attend. They're on 4 panels, which is pretty cool.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of them. But yeah, so I've kind of got my conventions already spoken for the year. You can only take so much time.
100%. I also have my convention spoken for. Trying to remember who it was. I ran into somebody who was trying to get me like, oh, come on, it's a pack. Let's do packs. And it's like, I can do 2 a year, and it is Gen Con, because I am spoken for with the Nerdburger crew,
of course,
and a Catacon, which is a smaller TTRPG convention down in Dayton, Ohio. that Ghostlight goes and has a pretty solid presence at. And I am, that is always a highlight of the year because a lot of Ghostlight media is made up of, we're all college friends. We don't get to see each other, even though a lot of us do still live with relatively closely. Like, we're all adults. I have a kid now. Others have more kids than I do. It is so hard to get everybody in the same room. And so just to have a dedicated weekend where it's like, we are going to go and be amongst friends and have a couple of drinks and put on some events for other people so I can show the world how cool and funny and talented my friends are. It's just the best.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for that, Chase. I just want to throw one cool thing that happened this last week from me. It's not a con. It's not a big thing like that.
Please.
But for the longest time, I've wanted a large format e-reader. And so my spouse, as a birthday present, got me one of these Remarkables.
Oh, yes. I actually have also recently taken the large format e-reader plunge, and the Remarkable was near the top of my list for when I ended. Yeah.
What did you go with?
I went with the Books Air 4C, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the same thing. I just wanted to the Books, I think the reason I went with that is that it has a lot of handwriting recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Like specifically handwriting to text, and I use that for keeping notes during meetings and whatnots. And it's very convenient to have something that can actually take my horrible chicken scratch and convert it into the English language.
Yeah, this, technically speaking, will do it, but it requires a sort of like linking up to your phone, and I don't do that because I'm a bit of a Luddite. Either way, I'm loving it so far, and because for this program, for this very show, I'm almost always reading legal briefs and things like that, lawsuits and all those sorts of things.
Yep.
And those things just come as PDFs. So having something that flows well with a PDF that I can take notes on, has been brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. I also work in the legal sphere, so I understand the need of having something like that.
Ah, very cool. We'll have to chat some more about that later.
Yes.
I'm excited for the show. Chase, I sure appreciate you stepping into Mr. Nice Guy's shoes and helming things, because I am terminally out of the loop when it comes to what's going on in gaming news. Could you help?
Going back to what I was saying earlier about me completely missing things that happen at Gen Con, I hope you don't mind if I take us a little bit into the tabletop space for this.
Absolutely.
Naturally, one of the big things that has been going on in the tabletop space in the last decade is, of course, the emergence of the actual play sphere, specifically among, the big personalities on it. And at Gen Con, again, I don't know where this room is. I need to really stress. I have no clue. I'm sure it would take me 5 minutes to look up where it was or how I missed it. But there was a really big Critical Role event that happened. And at this event, they announced that the fourth campaign is forthcoming. And they're going to be doing a lot of new things. It looks like it's a new story. I think they even said a new world, new system, and a new GM. Because their GM, Matt Mercer, is stepping
Don't you mean Mark
down.
Mercer?
Mark Mercer. Look, that pause right there was me saying, "What's the real name? What's the real name?"
Of course.
But no, it is not Mercer. It's going to be a mulligan this time around, as Brennan Lee will be stepping into the big chair and running the fourth campaign. And that is very exciting. As someone who very much appreciates Brennan's style of DMing, I am very excited for him. And also just glad that there's going to be more of him out in the universe. And there is I don't know when this man is going to be sleeping over the next year.
Yeah.
Because he went on to Instagram, right after this went out, and said that, he also immediately after this signed or right around the time that this went public, he also signed a 3-year contract with Dropout, surprising nobody.
Well, it might have surprised you if you were, I don't know, concerned that he had given all up that to make, shoes for dolls.
Yeah, look, and if that's what he wanted to do, go forth and God bless. He has put so much into the world, and if the next thing he wants to put into the world is American Girl doll shoes, who am I to stand in his way?
To
But-
anybody who is completely lost, they did some Dropout did some videos, several of them specifically involving Brennan, one of which involved him pretending that he was stepping away to do something patently wild as a social media thing for one of their game shows. Anyway, so sorry. If you haven't seen it, it's worth watching because it's hilarious.
Absolutely. Did you have anybody who was actually tricked by that?
No.
I had one person message me like in a panic, like, Chase, have you seen Brennan's video? It's like, deep breath. Let's consider for a moment. But no, it was, this is very exciting news.
Yeah.
I'm curious if they're going to change up their format at all, just because Brennan does typically stick to or at least Dimension 20s typically sticks with an hour and a half to like 2.5 hour episodes, and Critical Role usually is about a 4-hour chunk.
Yeah.
And I imagine, like, since he's done stuff with Critical Role in the past, they will probably stick with that format. But as somebody who struggles with the 4-hour chunks, a man can dream that they will. It's like, come on, can we just a little bit, just a little shorter? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, another path is, a long episode for us is an hour. The idea of being able to produce that much content and that marathon of a content. I mean, obviously they've got a much bigger team. But the point stands, like, those 4-hour sessions are an endurance test and a timing test as well.
It is astonishing to me that they do as much in a single go. And, as somebody who's watched the Critical Role, all of the first, the second, and the third campaigns, I will admit that not all moments in them are incredible. There are, there are lulls, there are shopping episodes.
Absolutely.
But there are certainly, I do think it is significantly better than you probably think it is. And if you have played your own home games, they do put out a lot more entertaining than any of our home games tend to be. Except for, I think, maybe yours. Yours are pretty entertaining.
I like to say that we put out a good product. I like to also say a lot of it comes down to the amount of editing that I do,
Yes.
because that is a big thing for me. But who am I to argue with the masses?
Yes.
I mean, Critical Role is clearly like the big dog in the race. And if they end up moving over to Daggerheart, which would not surprise me at all, which is the system that they created, having now gotten my hands on it a little bit, I would be shocked if they did anything else, because that is a system with some legs, and I am really interested to see how character progression will work, not just in the game itself, but in the actual play space.
It's wild to think, but I understand from my own experience at conventions, I understand exactly what you mean of hearing about something like this and being like, I didn't even know that was a room at the convention hall. And being like, how did I miss this? Also, where did a whole extra floor come from?
Exactly.
Oh, but that is exciting news for any of us who enjoy tabletop role-playing games. And, good luck and Godspeed. And hopefully, Brennan, you get some sleep at some point in time.
Here's hoping. He's got a little kid. That sleep comes rough.
I can only imagine not being so blessed myself.
I did have one other thing that we could talk about here. So apparently, Starfield is going to be Bethesda is looking to release Starfield for the PS5 sometime this upcoming spring in 2026, alongside a new expansion.
Interesting. Okay, Chase,
yeah.
you're going to have to help me, because my
Yes.
head is buried in the past.
Yes.
You know a thing or two about Starfield, it sounds.
I have not played a ton of Starfield. The game came out not long after my son was born, and it was in the hardest part of having a child is in the first 3 weeks. The next hardest part is the next 3 months, and it was in that second, almost hardest part that that it came out. And I tried playing for about a week, and it just didn't stick. And as somebody who is an ardent Elder Scrolls lover, starting back in Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim, each of these games bring something very different to the table, but still, playing the same song with different instruments. It was really disheartening to sit down and play a game by these people supposedly made in the same vein, and me to not give a iota of thought of it to it the moment I stepped away. And that was really disappointing. Now, I am hoping for a redemption arc out of all of this. Sure. It would not be the first time that a redemption arc for a game has come about. And I could get really into the weeds as to why I was disappointed by it, because they made some weird and obvious mistakes that I just personally do not fathom, especially given the structure of the game. But what they do is it looks like they are trying to put more time, more effort. I mean, they're porting it to a whole new system, and why would you do that if you don't think that there's going to be a level of success there?
Fair.
Particularly when the rumors are also, Elder Scrolls 6 is coming up, and who knows what that's going to be or what that's going to look like. They have now they put out their teaser trailer for it longer ago. Even if it came out like today while we were recording, it would be the longest gap between Elder Scrolls games since the series started.
That sounds about right. So I have a question for you about this. If there is a Chase wish list here, what is one thing in this expansion, in this update that they're planning on doing? What is the one thing you think could be changed, fixed, that you think would make the biggest difference in your experience as somebody who wants to love it?
Make choices matter. So there are multiple organizations in the Starfield universe that are at odds, and there is nothing stopping you from joining all of them.
Ha! Okay.
And this was something that Bethesda has been doing since Skyrim, I think. No, since Oblivion. You have been able to join whatever guild, organization, what have you, and become the leader of that organization in just a few weeks of hard work and elbow grease. However, back in Morrowind, that was not an option, and if I am remembering correctly as well, Fallout New Vegas, which was actually developed by Obsidian, that was also not an option. And this game, minor spoilers for a game that is now almost 2 years old, but what happens in this at the end of this game is that you go through a time loop and you go to an alternate universe where you are able to maintain all of your current stats and everything, but it is a mostly clean slate universe where you can start building your reputation again. So if there's no consequence for like building up your character and locking off certain things in one playthrough, and then you go through whatever happens at the end, and then you go to a blank slate universe.
Yeah, what's the point of the blank slate if it's not giving you the chance to do the stuff you couldn't do before?
Exactly. If I can go through and do everything of consequence in one loop, why am I doing multiple loops? Thank you for the soapbox.
Of course. Don't worry, you will be paying me back.
Oh. But yeah, that is that was something that I was really blown away by, because the first time I started playing through, I was like, why? Okay, I get it. This is what they do. And then I talked to a buddy who did go through and beat it all, and he told me about the ending. It's like, well, my complaint is now more emphatic, because why would you do that?
100%. Such excellent news to talk about. Now, do you mind if I pull us back in time a little bit? Not a time loop, but just a previous time.
Okay.
A link to the past, if you will, with a little bit of video game history. Chase, there are a couple of things that came out this last week in the years before that I think bear particular mentioning. Maybe because they are the greatest games ever, maybe because they were just foundational or changed things up a little bit. And I'll start as far back as I've got some things. And that is 1988. The launch of a little service called the Nintendo Power Line, as well as the launch of the magazine Nintendo Power. Now, I just have to ask, Chase, did you ever call into the Nintendo Power Line?
I did not, but I was a long time Nintendo Power subscriber.
Excellent. Do you still have any of your old issues?
No, and about once a year, I really beat myself up over that, because I had them. As somebody who cannot be trusted with a single sheet of paper, because I will nervously crumple it, and that's on ADHD, I had my collection of Nintendo Powers were in incredible condition up until the moment I no longer had them. And I don't know what it was. I don't remember. Like, I can imagine like one or two moves where the weird metal file case that I had crammed them all into was either emptied or thrown out or damaged by water, what have you. But no, that was a really big part of my childhood. Those magazines.
I'm sorry for this to be so bittersweet, but for some people out there, they got a chance to call the Nintendo Power Line for however many dollars a minute to get help on their games, because as we know, there is hard and then there's Nintendo hard. This is going to be a little bit relevant later.
Okay.
But also in 1989, the following year, Nintendo made a little bit of a threat to Blockbuster for something that we're going to talk about in the later segment of the show, Legalese. But just wanted to flag that.
But what about you? What was your experience with the Power Line, with the Nintendo Powers?
Have a vague recollection of going to my cousin's house.
Okay.
And I didn't really have any Nintendo Power things. I came from, I was a family, there were 6 of us. We did not get like magazine subscriptions. I think at one point in time we got a set of encyclopedias, and that was about it. But it wasn't until visiting a cousin's house that he had a subscription to Nintendo Power. There was the Nintendo Hint Line. I don't remember what game we were lost on, but I do remember us calling up, being on the phone for several minutes, and then I do remember the next summer coming back to visit and being told the tale of the whooping that he got for running up the phone bill on that call. So I was there for all the benefits and not there for the consequences. And that's kind of my only experience with the Nintendo Power Line.
Sure.
And hopefully, dear listener, that resonates with some of you as well. We'll just skip along ahead a few years to 1999. A game that's personally relevant to me is an arcade game called Pump It Up. It's like Dance Dance Revolution, but came from Korea, had 5 buttons instead of 4, diagonals and a center. In the 2000s, I actually worked at a arcade, and I had as much playtime as I wanted, and they had a method of encoding your score into like a 30-digit code or whatever at the end of your thing, and you could put it on the leaderboards. And so I was top 10 in the nation at one point in time.
Nice.
And I didn't have to pay a dime for it. Matter of fact, I got paid to do it in a roundabout way.
Incredible.
So was I a pro gamer? Who's to say? But perhaps most relevant to us and to everybody who's listening, in 2023, the release of a little game called Baldur's Gate 3. Yes. Turns 2 now. I have sunk plenty of time into Baldur's Gate 3. I know you have as well. We don't have too much time, but I will just ask, of your playthroughs in Baldur's Gate 3, favorite character class to run through that? Loved a Battlemaster Fighter.
Fair.
Had a great time. What about you, Chase?
This is where I'm going to have to take a little bit of shame, is that I've only actually played through it all the way once.
Hey, that's cool.
It was the last game I played before my son was born. And it came out, and I knew, it's like, okay, this is a 60-hour game. I will not have time to play this when the boy is here, at least not for a while. So I mainlined that game like I was 14 years old again.
Excellent.
Like I was being irresponsible with my health just a little bit, and also I was trying to numb the balm of not being able to go to Gen Con because I knew the due date was coming up. It's like, it's too risky. The pregnancy was tricky enough. The last thing I need is to be like racing home from Indianapolis while my wife is going into labor. So it's like, I stepped away that year. So I did this instead. And I played through actually as an NPC from my early, from the first 3 seasons of Another Path.
Which one?
I played as Bela Taram, Master B, a black dragonborn warlock of the Great Old One.
Excellent.
And that was a lot of fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I do have another playthrough that is sitting at the end of Act 2. I just need to go through and do the last 2 sections on that. But I am playing through as another Path reference, one Robbie Graves, the gnomish necromancer who was dead at the very beginning of the first episode.
Love it.
And gnomish necromancer romancing Karlach.
Of course.
Because making Karlach kneel down for those scenes is very funny.
He's a
He's
short
king.
boy.
Short king, and he knows what he's about.
Excellent. Obviously, Baldur's Gate 3 won the Game of the Year during its year when it came out. Well-deserved.
Absolutely.
It is the type of thing that people will still be talking about, the impact of this game. A game that cost tens of millions, significantly outperforming games that cost hundreds of millions to make. And leading to, I think, rightly so, a lot of people questioning if AAA and even the ridiculous quadruple A is worth even discussing, those returns on investment. Who knows? But either way, that has been just a little bit of video game history for this week.
With that in mind, honestly, I kind of want to build off of what you were just talking about there as far as the triple and the accursed quadruple A.
Sure.
As far as what expectations should be from games, as we move forward, because we've seen from Larian that you can not only ethically make a game that is groundbreaking and earth-shattering, to the point where game companies shortly after the game came out have to say, it's like, hey, don't expect this from us. There were multiple AAA producers and publishers saying, hey, we can't do that. And the longer time has gone on, the more I am asking why. Because I have played AAA games that in the past year, specifically Dragon Age comes to mind, which I had fun with it. I enjoyed it, but it could have been better in many respects. And so I think the question stands is, what is reasonable to expect from these producers?
So I have some big feelings
Yeah.
on the subject.
Let's hear it.
Probably precisely because of the recent. To be clear, those of you who've heard the show before, you'll know that I have been on the side of what we are now calling the Stop Killing Games movement in video gaming.
Yes, absolutely.
Back in episode about 70 or so, I presented a 4-part thing that took the place of legalesas for those next 4 episodes, all about consumer rights in video games, where they are and what they ought to be, which predates some of the big Stop Killing Games discussions, by quite a ways. Now, this is just a case of convergent, evolution here, because,
Sure.
we were all upset with the same things. But I've been very, very on board with the biggest thing that I, Mac, want from gaming is I want a gaming experience that I can play today. And in 10 years, if the studio no longer exists, I can still play it. And that is something that I think should be a base expectation from all games.
100%.
Thank you, Chase.
Yeah, that I would consider that the bare minimum.
Yeah. And it's a shame that we have to say it, because it does feel a little bit like we're getting gaslit when people are like, it's impossible, these things can't be done. The thing I want us to expect from games is just to keep them.
I think, if I may say, the first thing, to own them.
Yes. Well played, sir.
To own them and then to keep them. And it is entirely possible because we've been able to do it, at least with PC gaming thus far. I can go back, I misspoke earlier, actually. I started playing Elder Scrolls games with Daggerfall, which is basically abandonware at this point, which means it has been updated and, I don't want to say modernized, but made compatible with more modern hardware. There is specifically, I believe it's a Unity version of Daggerfall that you can for free go out and download and play at your leisure, that has a lot of tweaks and changes to it, and basically mods that you can turn on and off that are built in to make it a more modern friendly experience. And that is a game with an absolute metric ton of freedom. So if you're looking for something where you can really run around and do a lot of stuff, and that's a great place to start. The effort to archive games and make them continue to be available is something that we have been able to do for things that go a good distance back, but there is a struggle to do with more modern options, or rather with more modern software, because stuff does tend to break a little bit. And I think the bare minimum is that we should be allowed to do that work and to make things available, even if the company doesn't want to do it, officially mark something as abandoned and move on. And for the love of God, stop throwing live service crap at us.
I could hardly agree more, Chase. Now, I think, though, that I've gotten us away from the question that you initially posed. I mean, I'm sure it's an answer.
Yes.
But I am curious about... and honestly, I think it's the only answer I have, because it's the only thing I can hold in my head right now, is that I want to play. But I am curious if there were other things that you felt we should be expecting or hoping for from games going forward.
We are at the point where writing in games needs to be held to a much higher caliber, because we have seen writing in games become exceptional in the last, I'll say, 20 years. When I was growing up, I am 37. Had to think about it. Just had a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. As I was growing up through the 90s, games barely had scripts, or if they did, they were not the most well-written thing or the most well-conceived thing. And then as we got into the aughts, especially the mid-aughts, the watershed moment for me that I will always remember is Red Dead Redemption. being a big moment where games started to change. And while there were well-written games before that point, that was the first one my dad saw. And my dad, who is a lovely guy, is just not plugged into video games at all whatsoever. And so when he came up to visit me when I was at college at one point, or had just graduated rather, we were talking over dinner. He was talking about this Cowboy Redemption game that my little brother was playing, and it's like, it has like stories and characters and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, that's why I like them. Because like, before that, like the Mass Effect games are also a big watershed. KOTOR, which y'all talked about last time, phenomenally well-written games. I need to go back and replay those. Same with Jade Empire 2. Love that one.
I've got my copy on my original Xbox in the other room.
I spent a summer mainlining Jade Empire and Morrowind. It was a good summer.
Good summer, man. That's great.
Yeah, right? When things break containment is when I know something is big. And that was a big containment breach, at least on a personal level. And since then, we have been seeing that it's like, oh, it's a video game. It doesn't have to be a well-written thought process, going away to the point where like well-established authors are taking time away from writing normal book series to sit down and pen a video game. Specifically, I'm thinking George R.R. Martin with Elden Ring, and there have been others who I am just blanking on at this moment. But I think seeing a bigger focus on, not just, the quality of voice acting, which of course has gone up, but the quality of the writing, the scripts they are reading from can and should be elevated.
Love it. I can agree 100%. And to any video game publishers or devs out there, if you're listening, what we're hoping going forward, we want to own our games, we want to keep them after you're no longer around, and we want some better writing. So pay those staff in the writer's room more money.
Hey, pay staff, not AI. No AI. That's the other thing. We don't want AI.
Very, very prescient. I'm going to move us along to our crowdfunding project. We do this thing every episode where I'll select a crowdfunding project. We call it Kick or Kick Start. And we say whether or not it should be kick-started or whether it should be kicked out of here. Now, Chase, I am pretty confident I know where you're going to fall on this. But before we get to that, let me just, for anybody who's listening in, this is called Dungeon Box, right? Yeah. The idea here is that you will basically play Dungeons and Dragons with the mechanics of a Jackbox game. It's a $25 minimum buy-in for a copy, which gives you access to an October beta, and of course the full game at release, expected to be December of this year. They were asking only 10,000 to launch, and have nearly exceeded that amount by 30 times. Here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Just in case you've never, the main idea is that this is a social game, and you're all in the game together in basically a lobby, and a prompt comes up. In the case of the Jackbox games, it might be a question. In this case, it's a supposition, a hypothetical of what are you going to do, and everyone gets a chance to submit their response. The whole group votes on the best response, and the game continues with that response being forward. It's a play cycle that you can do a short session, scalable maybe up to an hour or so. In the Jackbox game, you basically get points if everybody selects your response to the question as the best thing. In Dungeon Box, it would be your selection that everybody votes on pushes the story forward. But let's take the DM out of the game. AI can do that, can't it? In here, they're planning on using large language models in order to run the back end. What gets voted on, they say that we'll already have basically a campaign or a session plan in place, and that the AI, the large language model, will stitch between getting from point A to point B. Now, I do have some concerns, obviously, though if you've heard me before, large language models might seem cost-effective, and I think that's because they're probably being subsidized by a huge tech bro reality distortion field bubble that will very soon go away. But for all the issues that we have with things like live service games, this is the live servingest of the live service types of things. My concern is just as soon as there is not enough money to run those AI servers, this will be dropped like it's so hot and will never be functional again. I think it's an interesting thing, but I have big concerns. But Chase, hopefully I didn't steal all the things that you would like to say about this. Do you have any?
No, and I had seen this advertised because, of course, I am served ads for this thing all over, and I thought, oh, that's kind of neat.
This is your wheelhouse.
Exactly. It's like, this is great. Like, I love Jackbox. This seems great, but the use of AI, like, really just throws a whole bucket of water over that for exactly the reasons you said. I mean, the moment it gets turned off, it doesn't work. But even in the meantime, while it's still here, AI is, while it is cost effective, it is not energy effective. The analogy I saw a while ago, and this may or may not be correct because, of course, this technology is, the genie is out of the bottle, Pandora's box is open, and it is running rampant, and we have no idea what's going on with it. But my understanding is that, every time you tell an AI to write a sizable email, you're basically just dumping a bottle of water out. That is how much it costs to cool these incredibly hot servers that are constantly running. And until that can be, like, there are many reasons why I have a moral opposition to AI, but that is absolutely kind of the biggest one for me here and now. It's just like, we have made incredibly great strides over our lifetimes as far as being more environmentally friendly and things going well. Like the reason things have not caught on fire as much as they could be, and they are catching on fire, is because of the steps we have made. And this feels like, the use of AI is so many, many steps backwards. Going back to our previous topic, like, if this is going to, if this is going to be a perpetual product, what's the plan here? And it really rings hollow. It's like, because I'm reading the Kickstarter page, and they're basically saying, yeah, we cannot do this without AI. It's like, I don't know, Jackbox does a pretty good job, and they do like 5 or 6 games every 2 or 3 years. You're telling me you couldn't figure something out, like maybe another year or 2 in the oven? You couldn't figure out a way for this all to go together and to sand out some of those edges, or to just rewrite some of those games so it would work with a wider variety of prompts? Like, I don't know. It seems a little hollow.
Yeah, no, I agree. And for all these reasons and more, not to give too much away, but I would definitely say kick it.
Yeah, kick it.
We wish everybody well.
Of course.
And clearly this is going to get the funding that they have asked for.
Yep.
Foxtail Games is absolutely going to, they've well exceeded.
Yeah.
But like, Foxtail, please, if you're listening, which you're definitely not, but if you were, we would entreat you, please consider what options you can do as you're building this to make it something that works without that type of reliance, and makes it something that can be enjoyed beyond when,
Yeah, when this fad has passed.
Yes, when the fad has passed. Thank you, Chase, for helping me kickstart this bad boy.
Absolutely.
With that out of the way, I think it's time for us to flex some of our nerdy muscles. Now, this time we're going to do just a little bit differently, in that we are only going to do our sound test before moving on. And for those of you who maybe it's your first time here, we put out a mystery sound every 4 episodes or so. A sound from somewhere, somewhen, somehow in video gaming. And if you were the first one to correctly identify it and let us know via socials, email, what have you, then there can be a perler handcrafted by me as a prize and sent to you, such as this collection of Pokemon badges in the background. Not all of them at once, although, Chase, maybe if you can clinch number 311, maybe I could be persuaded.
Fair.
Point being, we are going to not only give the answer to the mystery sound for 311, but we're going to bring in a new mystery sound for this episode 351. So, Chase, as the guest today, you have the last crack at the mystery sound for 311.
That's save music. That's save music. I don't know what it's save music to, but that's save music. I don't know where that's from. You've got me stumped on that one.
I love the confidence. This was a difficult one. This is from Legend of Grimrock. When you discover a new spell, this is the sound that plays.
I should have known that. I played enough of that.
That's okay. There's so many sounds.
So many sounds.
Let's see about number 351.
I understand your reluctance, but now is the time to strike.
Is that
Shh, you're not supposed to correctly guess. No worries, we'll cut it in post. So now, the mystery sound for episode 311 is out of contention, but that mystery sound now is fair game. So until we sunset that one, you can perhaps get a prize. Let us know. Well, Chase, now we come to the last little bit of our show before we share what we're watching and what we're playing. The last real segment, and we call that Legalese. The law has an outsized impact on the way that we enjoy our video games today. And in many ways, it's changed the whole course of our art form. But I want to take you back in time, back to the, late 80s. Back to a time when video games are specifically designed to be more difficult in the United States than in Japan. And Nintendo doesn't want you to be able to rent video games. The year is 1989, as I teased before, and Nintendo had just recently joined up with Microsoft and a word processing company called WordPerfect to lobby, aka buy off, US congressmen and make renting software illegal. Granted, it is fun that in these days, the days that we now live, most of the big players in video games want to make it so you are always renting your game directly from them, month after month after month after month, but I digress. The big three players, they pushed real hard to try and outlaw software rentals, and they succeeded, but only for computers and not for game rentals, because game rentals were actually kind of big business back in those days, and the other folks involved, Microsoft, WordPerfect, they kind of kicked Nintendo to the curb once once they saw it was playing, and after all, home consoles back in those days were kind of the angsty teen in those halls, not really the establishment. So what's a Nintendo to do? They had already been shipping US versions of games with harder difficulties, fewer lives, higher damage thresholds, in order to pressure players to buy the game, or maybe even call a hint line? Who's to say? But objectively, there was nothing left to do. Or was there?
dun dun dun?
Because it turns out, when the size of your entire video game is less than 1 second of the very podcast recording you are listening to right now, sometimes details can't be included in the game itself. I didn't want to throw this out too soon, Chase, but one of the things that I think has really helped us is with larger file sizes, we can include more expansive storylines and things. Sometimes you've got to take all that extra information and you got to put it somewhere. Well, why not put it inside of the manual? Tips, tricks, or even in the case of a game like Star Tropics, a required piece of info to complete the game might be found in the manual. And you know what? Those folks over at Blockbuster, they're making photocopies of the game manuals to include with the rented games because people keep losing them, and there isn't really a good, solid, effective way to get replacements from Nintendo. So, today, in '89, Nintendo tells Blockbuster that they have to stop photocopying game manuals immediately, and they sue them in court almost immediately after. Now, I hate settlements with a fiery red passion because that means we never get solid intel as to what happened behind the scenes, and sadly, this is one of those cases. The two settled out of court, and who knows what exactly the terms of that settlement were. But one thing we do know is that Nintendo got at least some of their way because Blockbuster agreed to stop photocopying those manuals. It didn't stop video game sales, but it may have certainly helped push more people away from renting the Nintendo hard video games to buying the Nintendo hard video games. But that's not the law. That's just legalese. Chase, did you ever get caught up in a game that you couldn't beat and didn't have the manual to from a rental?
Oh, of course. Of course. No, when I was growing up, it was a tradition of about like once or twice a month to go on down to the Giant Eagle and pick up something from the rental. And I'm trying to remember. It was one of the Mystical Ninja games for the N64 specifically. Was a repeat rental because we did not understand what was going on. And eventually, after genuinely like a year of renting that game on and off, we were able to make some progress. But again, like even with a game rental where you could save a game, if you were trying to come back, it was a real random roll whether or not you were going to be able to play off of your old file, or if it was just a situation where some other child who did not understand what was going on also rented it, also made roughly either the same or different mistakes, and it was just easier to start from zero.
Yeah, and for those of you who are newer listeners, maybe you don't know this, but back in those days, the save stayed on the gaming cartridge.
Oh, yes.
I cannot imagine the sweaty palms from plugging that cartridge in and being like, please let it be there. Let the save be there.
And, like, that was honestly one of the, my family skipped the Super Nintendo generation, so we went from the NES to the N64. And making that jump, one, was wild as a child. But also, one of the benefits in hindsight to the NES was that they, with the exception of a couple of games, you didn't have any onboard saves. It was all done through the code. So at the very least, if you were playing a Nintendo hard thing, it's like, okay, I can at least get the code and write that down, and next time I rent it, I'll be right back in. This time around with the N64, it's like it is a total random chance. Did Brian from Fifth Period want to also play this? Who knows? He's probably as bad as you are. It shouldn't matter, but it does, apparently.
Oh, that it does. Well, thanks for coming down that legalese with me. Chase, it's now time to close out our show. We do this always by sharing the cool, nerdy things that we are into and the things we're playing, the things we are watching. And for anybody who's listening to the show, just yell it out on your commute. We are tabulating results from here.
Yes.
Chase, what you watching? What you playing lately?
I've been playing a bit of V Rising, actually.
Nice.
Which
Heard of
is
it.
a vampire, kind of like top-down survivor crafter dealy. It has a very good, it absolutely has a multiplayer mode that if you've got the crew that is dedicated to play that much of a game multiplayer, that sounds like a lot of fun. For me, I don't like playing on other people's schedule, so I've just been playing solo in relaxed mode and have been having a great time with it. And then let me actually go ahead and pull up my Steam, because the thing is, I haven't been playing a whole lot. And Schedule 1. That's the other one that I have been playing.
Is that a drug reference?
It's a drug reference. It is a drug dealer game.
Nice. I seem to remember one of these games on my TI-84 being passed around during high school.
It is that, but you have a city that you're walking around in and doing some deals and whatnot. It is silly, goofy fun. I did put it down in favor of V Rising probably like 2 or probably like 3 weeks ago now. So it's been a little while since I've gotten back on the Schedule 1 train. But no, V Rising has been a blast for me. Haven't been playing much else, at least on the video game space. At Gen Con, I had the opportunity to pick up and play some Morkborg, which is a high fatality, rules light tabletop role-playing game. Takes a lot of hints from D&D, but also like the art. The art feels like what if Catholic imagery was painted on the side of a van.
Ooh, those van painters are very talented.
They are indeed. So if that sounds like it might be something up your alley, definitely worth checking out. I did also get a chance to get my hands on some Daggerheart, which is the new Critical Role backed game, which is a lot of fun. They do some neat stuff with dice that I'm a big fan of, and there's a lot of use of D12s, and I love a D12. The most underused die in D&D, to the point where I will just make some things a D12 because I think they're neat.
I think they're neat.
Because I think they're neat. And I played, and I ran Good Strong Hands, which is the game from Nerdburger Games. I would be remiss in not pointing that out,
Yes.
which uses their roll track system to add and create a little bit more tension there. You are constantly building and spending resources over the course of the game, and it is a lot of fun. And I actually did a little bit of writing on their upcoming game that also uses that as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Anything that you've been watching?
Watching? No, not really. Dropout. Been watching a lot of Dropout. Watched the behind the scenes of the most recent Game Changer before coming up here tonight, which was, God, like, they keep making such good shows, and this season of Game Changer in particular has been a delight. Even the episodes that I'm not super invested in and don't need to go back and rewatch, it's like I completely understand exactly how we got to this point. I enjoyed watching it the first time. I just don't need to watch it again.
Understood. Yeah. Well, for my part, game-wise, I've got this old cozy tower defense game called Creeper World.
Oh.
You know Creeper World, Chase?
Oh, I know Creeper World.
Lovely.
That goes back to Addicting Games days.
Yeah. I on my little potato of a laptop that I take traveling with me, I have Creeper World 1 and 2 installed.
Nice.
Good old executables. And on my, I've been playing mostly Creeper World 4 lately. It's just a cozy game to put some time into. I've also been playing Stardew Valley. A friend of mine, we usually get together on Sundays to play. He's over in North Carolina. I'm over here in Oregon, and so we just make some time together. And we've been playing a lot of games like Halo Infinite, Combat Evolved, a lot of first-person shooters. Anyway, I, sold him on Stardew Valley, and so we started playing it, and he's having a great time. I've having a fantastic time. It's just all around a good time.
Incredible.
As for watching, I think the only thing that I would add, because I've been watching Dropout as well, is I've also been watching Taskmaster.
I need to take the plunge.
It's fantastic. There are many places, there are many good points to take the plunge. Maybe I'll make some recommendations later, but it's a good time. Yeah. Well, Chase, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Straight off of Gen Con, thank you for making the time. Now, obviously, if you want to shout out any projects that you've got coming up or things to look forward to, now's the time.
Sure. Well, like I said, Ghostlight Media is going to be at Acadicon. You could check out more about that at acadicon.com. General admission tickets should be going up for sale soon. We're going to be running a bunch of games. I know Griffin from Another Path is looking at doing some Blades in the Dark. And also potentially a live recording of Zach and Griffin's Multiversal Pet Shop. And for my part, I am going to be running a D&D mega game that is a 25-player game of D&D, which will be co-GM'd by some of my other friends and collaborators from Ghostlight Media. And this is going to be our first in-universe reflected canonical game for Another Path. And Mac, we're going back to Callaghan Cat's Corral.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah, no, this is the 13th Acadecon. So, you know, when I messaged the creators and I was like, "Hey guys, what are we looking for? What are we doing?" They're like, "Hey, we're going horror a little bit. So if you want to do some horror, that's gonna be what we're looking for." I was like,
That's your walk-up music.
as a matter of fact, have some creepy animatronics of my own design. Not from Five Nights at Freddy's or anything like that, because I did work at a Chuck E. Cheese as my first job. So I have a genuine fear of those things. Because Chuck was an unsettling coworker.
What, Charles Entertainment Cheese? Unsettling?
You're breaking out his Christian name.
Hey, it's the only way to keep him out of the house once you've invoked him.
Oh, correct. 100. As someone who has worn the suit, that is absolutely correct.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if we need to, but we don't have time.
Hey, I'll just say, not the worst part of the job. But no, we'll be doing that, and so if you want to say hi to me or anybody else on the and a lot of the other people on the Ghostlight crew, we are going to be having a lot of the team out. I'm so excited because this will be my first time meeting some people, which will be great. In addition to that, Another Path is currently on a hiatus, so if you are looking for a chance to binge and catch up, Seasons 1 through 3 tells a complete story. Season 4 is a standalone that doesn't include much of anything from the first 3 seasons until very late, and even then, I think it stays fairly accessible. We'll be starting up Season 5 at the end of the summer, but if you want to keep on up with what we're doing currently, Imprinted Echoes is where you can catch me playing Nehemiah every other. I think we're on Tuesdays now, if I'm remembering correctly. We bumped over to a Tuesday release. And we've got a bunch of other shows on the network, which you can check out at ghostlightmedia.net.
And also, there's a Patreon where, if you like what you hear, you can support the Ghostlight crew.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yep. Go patreon.com/ghostlightmedia. It is, I think, $2 a month gets you into the Discord, which is a fun and chill place to hang out and talk about video games, tabletop games, whatever's going on.
Well, Chase, a delight, an honor, a privilege. It's so good to have you. And for those of you listening, it's so good to have you here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for always sending your good vibes and energy here. And remember, until we see you next time, hopefully at the live show, twitch.tv/TunersInAPod, on Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central. Remember to be excellent to each other and keep it nerdy. Bye.
Bye.